All right. Well, welcome back to another edition of the Nectar Blueprint. And of course, Lessons with Legends. And Miss Susan here is nothing short of a legend in her respective realm. And I'm super excited and honored that you were willing to jump on as busy as your schedule is and some of the podcasts that you've been on. So I'm excited to go through everything with you and learn. And I will say that because I've learned a ton through some of the podcasts that I've listened and just exploring your website and learning different patterns. And even as we were just talking as a chiropractor, we learn all these things, but not at the level that we really should. Yeah. I'm like, I know this anatomy. And then I was listening to some stuff that I sent over to my wife. I sent the podcast with you and Ben Greenfield over. And next thing you know, we had boxes showing up of things, and we'll go through those things. And it's incredible. But I was like, I didn't really learn that anatomy in school and all that kind of stuff. So without further ado, this is Susan Bratton, and again, so appreciate. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Let's go.
All right. Hi, Todd.
Hi.
And thank you so much for having me in that very kind introduction. For those of you who are new to me, my name is Susan Bratton, and my title is Intimacy Expert to Millions, which is a very toned down title that my PR firm gave me because my old title was Trusted Hot Sex Advisor to Millions. And they're like, maybe we should tone that down a little bit. And I was like, all right. But really, it comes from the fact that for the last 2 decades, which is really my second career, I got into this at 42 and I'm 62 now. And by the way, having the best sex of my life. And I want to tell you about why. I got into creating passionate lovemaking techniques. So I'm a publisher of passionate lovemaking techniques. I've written 44, I'm working on my 44th book right now, which is called Orgasmic Intercourse. And I want to parking lot that because I want to explain why I'm writing that book and my thoughts about that, because I think it's like it's like a wedge issue in relationships. And I'd like to talk more about it. I started publishing passionate lovemaking techniques because, like you said, we're not taught this stuff. And that was what happened to my husband and I. We'd been in a relationship. We'd been married for over a decade. It was actually our 11th wedding anniversary. And I had 2 gin martinis, which I don't do anymore. And I was like, what are we doing here? We've got the house, the cars, the beautiful girl, we've got everything, these great careers. And we are so disconnected. You've emotionally checked out. And he said, well, you don't have sex with me. And I was like, I know. I don't know. It's just not that good for me. I can't bring myself to do it. I was really starving him for sex. And so at that time, we just ended up getting really honest and doing some therapy for some trauma that I'd had. And we started going to personal growth. We did a lot of Tony Robbins. I subsequently ended up working for Tony in a startup that we did. And we also started going to sex workshops, which was super edgy for me at the time. Yeah. I'd never really even looked at my own vulva at 42 and I wasn't having orgasms from intercourse. And it was great for my husband. He was, but I wasn't. And I did it for over a decade and I just didn't want to do it anymore. And so we went to these workshops, and though it was I would have meltdowns on the way to them. I mean, it was just so edgy for me. And we went to the workshops and boom, magic. We instantly started having great sex. And I thought, my God, it is so easy when someone tells you what to do. And I have come to think about myself as an orgasmanaut, an astronaut of orgasm that goes out into outer space to the farthest reaches of human orgasmic potential, has the felt and learned experiences in my own body, and comes back and goes, here's how you do it. It's super easy. And so one of the things about orgasmic intercourse is that, they always say your greatest wound becomes your greatest gift. And one of the things about orgasmic intercourse is that women who don't have it, you've heard of Dr. Laurie Minson, the orgasm gap, the delta between how easy it is for men and how hard it is for women. And that's partially because there's a number of reasons, which I could also parking lot if you want to come back to that. I don't have to talk about that now, but women think to themselves, oh, I'm just not the kind of girl who can have an orgasm from intercourse. So I'll just enjoy being close to him or whatever. And most of us are in heterosexual monogamous relationships, and most women are not having orgasms from it. And he wants to keep having intercourse. And so she's doing it, but she's not loving it. And then he feels guilty and he feels ashamed and he doesn't know how to get her to be happy. I mean, it's just a mess.
Yes.
And so that's one of the big problems that I solve is I just tell you how to do it. And you do it and you're like, oh my God, I thought I couldn't, but it was just that I didn't know what I was doing. And what you said, I didn't learn this in school. Well, we do not have sexual pleasure education in our country, and we never will. I mean, I can't see it in my lifetime. And I'm going to live to 100 because I'm a biohacker and a sexual biohacker. So we have to learn it ourselves. It wasn't your parents' responsibility. It is your responsibility. Let it go. If you're like in this victimhood mentality, nobody ever told me. Nobody ever told anybody. That's why mommy's here. I'll help you out. It's like, there's people like me now. Thank God. And there's a lot of people like me now. There weren't 20 years ago. Now there are so many, but they're so young and they hardly know anything, but God love them. It's good to be an old sexpert because, I've done a lot. I've done the things. I've done all the things. And if I think of a new thing, I try that too. I'm always having new experiences because that's my job for you. I'm super sorry I have to do all these fabulous, fun, sexy things all the time just to help you guys out.
I'm a clinical experience, I'm an expert. I love it.
Exactly. I mean, I got to walk the talk.
Yes.
So anyway, I ended up, my husband and I, we had such a transformational effect on our relationship. It was like, wow. We said, let's start our company together. We were Silicon Valley nerds and we basically run a tech company. We're a publisher of passionate lovemaking techniques. And the brand, if you will, the style of my work and the work of the others who I choose to publish is heart connected, passionate, conscious lovemaking. That's what I'm looking for, not what you see in porn and the media.
Yes.
That's performative. That's someone else's agenda for your pleasure. No. We got to get out from under the food corporation's agenda for us and the medical corporation's agenda for us and the porn and media corporation's agenda for us. And we got to get into what's in our hearts and what our body desires. One of the things Tony Robbins taught me was this little phrase, all you need is within you now. Your pleasure, what your body wants, how you want to be touched, what the kinds of experiences that you want to have, they are in there and you just need to listen for them and learn how to ask for them with your partner. Have great bedroom communication, which is one of the three legs of the stool are techniques, communication, and sexual health. And when you have that, you've got a solid platform for personal sexual growth, which gets better and better as you age when you put your intention on learning it. So that's what I do and how I got here and who I am.
Oh, so awesome. And I don't know, as you mentioned, there's so many different reasons that we could go into, and I think religion has a big flair on this as well, because I grew up in a very, very religious household, and this stuff.
I'm so sorry.
Well, I know, and I say I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor because you come out of these things and everything that. Yeah, everything you mentioned trauma and everything is just wrong. And I'm bringing that up because I think there will be a lot of people listening to this. We have a big Mormon population just because of where we're at. Yeah. And there'll be a lot of closet Mormon listeners because this is, I just want to stress, this is tissue that is no different than the rest of the body, how it thrives throughout nutrition and all those types of things. But it's so much more. And I love the concept of your spiritual connection. I even just wrote down like a quantum orgasm because if you're reaching out and grabbing those
that's what I call it.
I love it.
Yes, because it expands in every direction and it allows you to touch source. When you are in a conjoined trance state, the theta brainwave state of meditation and orgasm are the same. And it is a rapture. And I have touched source, I've touched Gaia. Those are the words that I like for a non-religious orientation toward the palpable feeling that we are all connected on this planet. And you can get that through sex. The church doesn't want you to get that through sex. They want you to get that through coming there and paying the money. The other thing that, since you brought it up, and I usually steer clear, I'm already talking about sex. I shouldn't be talking about like drugs or church or stuff like that. But since you brought it up, the thing about orgasmic intercourse that's so interesting is you got to get that working in a monogamous heterosexual relationship. You got to get that working for both of you. When I make love to my partner, I am coming pretty much the entire time. We are in this incredible limbic, pleasurable trance state of, it feels so good, and it feels good in my heart. It feels good in my brain. It feels good in my soul. It feels good in my yoni. Yoni, Y-O-N-I, is the word that I use. It's a tantric lovemaking word for my entire female urogenital complex. The vagina is just the inside. The vulva is just the outside. So I like yoni, Y-O-N-I. I like yoners too, which are female erectile function, for the yoni, which is so important. I like a good solid yoner. That's one of the things that helps you cross that gasm chasm, close that orgasm gap, is giving the female body enough time to get fully engorged. Because for you, you've got fast acting hemodynamics and you're testosterone dominant and you're ready to go and you're single-minded. And we female bodied partners, it's 20 to 30 minutes for us to get the same engorgement that could take you 30 seconds when you see our boobs. Yeah. And so the number one sex technique that I tell my guys is slow down and come back and get us. We want to get there. You're spontaneously turned on. We're responsively turned on. These are all generalities. Everybody's on a bell curve. But a religion thing, I'll just close off on that, is that the church said that sex was for procreation only because they didn't want people having a lot of fun. They wanted them to feel like they had to be good to go to heaven and oppress them. And they didn't want all this random fuckery. They wanted their constituents to just make more babies so they had a bigger religion. Yes. And so that really ruined things. This whole notion of there's foreplay and then there's sex means we're goal-oriented toward intercourse. And that's all that matters. But for the female body, and men love this too, and honestly, people across the gender spectrum, I don't care what your gender expression is. You can be, a furry, whatever it is. I'm Sparkle Rainbow Girl. But we do have different equipment and it works. It's the same, but it works a little differently because of our hormone dominance, estrogen versus testosterone.
Sure.
And so foreplay, what we think about as foreplay, that's all the stuff the ladies need to get to our yoner. And so if we think about it that way, then we're just driving toward penetration and we're driving too fast. We just need to slow all that down and drop into heart connection with each other and get really turned on with each other and give her the time for her blood flow to get to her pelvic bowl and seep through the vaginal mucosal lining and get her lubricated and get all that tissue plumped up. And so, God, I feel like, boom, my work is done here. Like if everybody just did that, we'd be so far ahead.
Well, I say huge. It's always all these little innuendos, but I love that. The yoner is a great. I can just hear women clapping in the background as they're listening to this because it's like yes, and helping them understand that. I think your example, and then we can get into some of like the sex band because there's a couple of things that go in my mind, but the yoner is a great example because you had mentioned that basically it's just an inside penis.
It is. Same amount of erectile tissue just wrapped around our vulva.
Yeah, so go into that because you were talking
Yeah, sure.
at Dave's biohacking conference about, Play-Doh. There it is. And a banana. Good. Go.
There's my banana. Did you go to Dave's conference?
I was not there.
Okay.
Yeah, sports and kids right now, but
Oh yeah, I totally understand.
we're,
You've got 3 kids at home. They need all your attention. I
they do.
know. You are busy right now.
We
I
are
know.
busy.
My daughter left for Africa today.
Oh,
She's
wow.
26 and she's speaking at a global climate conference. And it's so cute. They gave her own speaking slot and then they put her on a panel with like 3 or 4 elder scientists, and her
Yeah.
job is to explain to them how they can pass their legacies on to the youth generation to carry the climate, climate renewal forward. And I'm
Yeah.
just unbelievably proud of her.
Oh, wow.
I
That's
know.
incredible.
So let's talk about yoners.
Yoners.
So
Do it.
for those of you listening to the audio, the podcast, you should come on over to YouTube because I'm going to be demonstrating. I've got a little show and so I got my Susie Sexy Show and Tell here today for
Yes.
you, Dr. Todd.
I love it.
And I brought a couple of different things I really wanted to show you. And this is the first one, which is the penis looks like a banana. It actually is twice as big. All you guys are going to be happy to know that your penis is twice as big as you thought it was because half of it's sticking out and half of it goes in and down towards your testicles.
We've
And
measured wrong.
Yes, exactly. Double the numbers. Woo! And what's neat about it, a penis is that it's these 3 long, straight chambers of erectile tissue. And when you see a boob, you're like, boink, and
There
you
it is.
instantly have your erection if you're healthy. And I do want to talk about sexual regenerative therapies, the Gaines
Yes.
waves, the Femi waves, the penis pumping, because everybody I ever talk to about that is like, I had no idea. So I do want to lay that out briefly. But this erectile tissue, if I took this banana, so now I've got the whole penis, a giant banana full of erectile tissue, and I open it and I take the tissue out, it would cover the palm of my hand. If I take that like Play-Doh and I turn it into a circle with a little point at the top, and I take the skin off of a vulva and I pop it in there, it circles around the vaginal balloon, I'm calling it these days, because I want to tell you a little bit more about new data on the vagina. That circle of tissue is kind of 3 erectile chambers, but they're called the clitoral, urethral, and perineal chambers. And so we have 3 masses of erectile tissue inside our vulva, inside our yoni, and they're more nooks and crannies. So it's slower for them to get to full erection. So what happens when people have this focus on intercourse, they're racing to the goal of having one measly ass orgasm, like talk about low performers. You can be coming the whole time, both of you, male multiple orgasm, female we can just be coming and coming and coming and coming with the quantum gasms, as you so beautifully articulated. Once we get her yoner hard, that's what we need. And that takes time, but we have the same amount of tissue as he does. So nobody's talking about women's erectile dysfunction. It is as big an issue as our male-bodied partners. Ain't nobody talking about that. That's going to be like, oh God, if I'm eating the same things as my husband, because I'm probably feeding him and he's got ED, mama's got ED. So I want to talk about how to reverse that too. But that's really what we're going for here is stop thinking about foreplay and sex and start thinking about everything as pleasure that builds to the quantum gasms that you co-create through slow and pleasurable heart-connected stimulation.
I love it. This is so good. And this is going to be phenomenal. And I want to stress to the listeners too, because there'll be doctors on this, but there'll be, just general population that the health of that tissue is the health of the overall body too.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about a health hack, and I know you want to get into sex spam, and I want to talk about that too. These are predictors. When I work with men and low T, and my first question is, and I'll ask the wife too, is like, is he waking up with a boner in the morning?
Right.
Because that is a predictor of your overall vascular health, tissue health, cellular health, and all that as well. And when I first came across your explanation of that vulva, I was like, that is incredible. That makes so much sense. As I kind of visualized it as like an hourglass, and I have one here. It's just like, that blood flow just has to go down, and it takes a little bit of time to do that. But what an amazing difference if you will work that, men, a little bit, and if she will learn how to do that as well. So
I love the hourglass. Thank you for that visual. That was really good.
Yeah, it's just when I looked at that and I can't remember the diagram, and maybe you can point to that, but to see the blood flow that's wrapped around.
Yeah. I'll just show you since we've got YouTube. All right. You're going to have to go to YouTube if you're listening to the podcast. I got diagrams.
Nice. I love it.
So this is the vulva. This is the mons, the outer labia, and that's all surrounded by pubic hair if she continues to have it, which I don't. I like it all gone so I can get really good yoni massages, which is the trick to this.
Well done.
There's the clitoral hood, which turns into the inner labia, which culminates in the fourchette at the bottom, highly sensitive, fully orgasmic once you activate it. Then there's the clitoral shaft and the clitoral tip or glans, which is kind of our little yoner there, but the whole thing inside gets swollen. And then this opening inside the inner labia, that's called the vestibule. This inside the vestibule, there's the urethral exit, which is where the urine and the female ejaculation come out. Just like your male body, you've got urine and ejaculation coming out of your penis. It's just a shorter tube, if you will, that goes inside. And that's what is the G-spot. This is the external G-spot. And then here's the opening to the vagina. That's called the introital sphincter. And I love to say sphincter. And that is a very, very sensitive little round muscle that's attached to our throats, our mouths, our eyes. It's a sphincter system that works in lockstep. So kissing opens it, breast pleasuring opens it. You don't want to force your way into that thing. You want that thing to almost suck you in.
Nice.
And then inside the vagina on the top, you can get more of the sponge, the second chamber of erectile tissue. And on the bottom, you've got the perineal sponge under here toward the perineum, obviously. Mm-hmm. And that's the third sponge. So if I peel away the skin and I just show you what's under there, this is the three erectile tissue bodies. This is the clitoral body, the arms, the legs, which are found under the labia majora. This is the second one, the urethral sponge. And this is the third, the perineal sponge. And that's the vaginal opening there. And the vagina looks like this balloon. It looks like a little sphincter with a neck, a thin neck, and then a bigger, rounder opening in the back that is a balloon-shaped cave with a little depression where the cervix comes down. And what's interesting is, I'm blowing up a balloon right now, that the vagina actually expands and tense. And so part of my orgasmic intercourse book, which, by the way, I put all the techniques that I'm writing in the book, I just stack them up. If you go to orgasmicintercourse.com, it gets you on my newsletter. You can unsubscribe anytime, but you're not going to want to. And it give you the 10 techniques right away. So you don't have to wait for the book to come out while I'm working on it, because I'm putting a lot of this in there. You don't want to go in and out of the vagina like, You want to think about the vagina as you're a cave spelunker, and you want to use your penis or toys or fingers to touch the tissue past the wall of the vagina. Just like when you're giving a massage and you're not rubbing the skin, you're rubbing the muscle, the meat underneath the skin. That's one of the biggest concepts to orgasmic intercourse is she doesn't want the friction.
Sure.
She wants connection and deep touch inside there. So like the heart tongue technique, I like guys to imagine that their penis is directly connected to their heart and they're flowing their love out through their member into her. And it's not a piston or, like a pool cue, though you can use it that way. And that is a technique. It's a tongue. You're actually almost licking her with your penis in there, all the way around the pudendal nerves, the perineal sponge, the urethral sponge, the cervical area, beyond the cervical area, but through the skin into into her body. You're making a energetic connection from your heart into her womb. I'm going to let my balloon go. And now you know where yoni farts come from.
I love it. Oh, so penile massage. This is what we're looking for, and that's
yes,
penile effleurage for you massage aficionados. So when she's asking
effleurage, I gotta write that down, honey. What does that mean? That's a good word. I like your hourglass, and I like your
little analogies. Effleurage is a massage technique. So it's
what is it?
It's kind of just a flow technique. So yeah, like you mentioned, getting past that skin and getting a flow technique through the musculature. It's kind of one of the lighter techniques in massage therapy, but effleurage.
I am attributing that to you for the rest of my life. Thank you, Todd.
I love it. So
me too.
let's and that's such a good diagram. And again, where the hell is this? It should have been this as a young
you just
sexual.
Gotta let that go.
I know. I'm like, gosh.
I know. You got to let it go.
No school.
You're here now.
No sex ed class. That was,
it's never going to happen.
Hopefully, I don't know. Maybe youngsters can get on this podcast and learn, because that education right there for a male and a female is just incredible. So, you've been incredible. You've been biohacking, and I love the concept of regenerative, because we spend so much time on regenerative joints and trying to use stem cells and other things. We do this new alpha-2 protein that we're injecting in joints and seeing all sorts of phenomenal results with that. I know Dave had talked about having a ton of stem cells injected everywhere in his body, including his penis and all those types of things. But tell me, you use the word sex span. I love that, as far as, longevity, if you will, of these parts and that. Dive into that for us.
Yeah. So I read this study. It was a European study of, I'm going to say 3,500 people who were shown photos of people between the ages of 18 and 80, and they had to guess their age. And there was this group of people that everyone guessed to be around 8 to 10 years younger than their actual chronological age. And I love the notion of chronological versus biological age. Yeah. I do a lot of these glycan age tests and the true diagnostics. I'm 62 with a 43-year-old, biological age.
Nice. Yes.
And I'm trying to get below 40. So I'm working my way down younger and younger. And I'm doing a lot of really interesting, like ARX and Vasper and Carol Bike and Live O2 oxygen and, all kinds. I'm doing cryo and red light. And I have a longevity center in my town. I live in Mill Valley. And so I'm really working on, and I do senolytics and, all of those things to try to, and I just harvested my stem cells. I've got one little hole left in my back here that's still closing up a bit from the liposuction. They sucked my stem cells out and I put them in the American Cell Tech cryo bank. And I just had an IV of them and I had them injected into the ACLs that I tore this winter at Big Sky skiing the steeps. Oh. And, I hurt myself flipping some tires on my elbows. So I stuck them in there and I am the Wolverine. The bullet, I just push the bullets right back out. Like you can't friggin' kill me. I mean, I just want to just reverse everything. So I have that approach to my vulva and your penis. How do I have, and I do, I literally at 62 have a luscious vulva. It's lubricated, it's engorged, it's beautiful, it's pink, it's juicy, it's fully activated. You touch it anywhere and it makes me orgasm. I have long, luscious, orgasmic sessions multiple times a week. My libido is great. I'm still a responsive partner. I don't initiate that much. I'll say to my husband, please help me have a date tonight. And he has to, get me going. It takes 20, 30 minutes to, for me to be ready, but that's normal. And so we just do what it takes until Yoni's like, I'm ready, you know? And so I've done a lot of things. My yoni is more youthful than it was when I was in my 20s, highly activated, and just delicious and healthy and gorgeous. And what I did was a sexual biohacking stack, because when they looked at those photos of the people who were looked 10 years younger than their actual age,
Yeah.
they couldn't figure out what the thread was between these people. Like, what was it about them? And they called them the super young. And all of a sudden, one day they went, oh, this is interesting data. These are the people who reported having intimacy 3 times a week. Now, I use the word intimacy. They said sex. But if I said you've got to have sex 3 times a week, all the women in the room would be like, oh, fuck, I can't do it. Even if I look 10 years young, because they never get a yoner. They've never gotten really good. So they're at that place where they've not gotten what they needed. So intercourse 3 times a week doesn't sound so good, because we think sex means intercourse. You know, it all ties back to that, right? It's all that mindset and programming from the church. Jesus, that's what it is. So I say intimacy because I'm like, it's all sex now. It doesn't matter whether there's penetration for you to have great orgasms. You can have great orgasms from lots of things. It's really about coming into your own orgasmic potential and enjoying heart connection and the nervous system reboot and the neurotransmitter promotion and the oxytocin, which is a hormone, all the hormone creation, the prolactin for rest and relaxation.
Good.
Your brain lights up like a Christmas tree, especially Dr. Nan Wise. She's amazing. You should have her on. The more locations you touch and stimulate, the more areas of your brain light up. The lips, the breasts, the nipples, all the different parts of the yoni, the lingam, etc. The lingam is the penis. And penis massage is wonderful too, because it helps him get to full engorgement. It helps his erectile function. So what I realized is that the people who have intimacy, they live a longer and much happier life. And so if you want to be a biohacker and you care about longevity, don't just think about your health span. Think about your sex span, elongating your sex span. How do you do that when you are faced with atrophy of aging? Yeah. What are you doing to do that? And that's where the regenerative therapies and the sexual biohacking come in. And I'd be happy to give you the stack if you'd like to, or wherever you want to go.
Yeah, let's we'll get, so the listeners, I want to get avenues, and your website might be a good resource for this, and so we'll clarify that at the end of where people can go. We've looked at bringing in, and we'll be on that, bringing in bits and pieces of all of this too for our community to have access to, but I want you to walk through that stack, because that's incredible. And people need to understand this is a system. This is a system like a cardiovascular system, a neurological system. It is a system that demands to be taken care of and exercised regularly. and that's the incredible parts of it that I think, yes, the mindset has to go with it as well. And we have to just get, like you're telling me to do, let go of that old stuff. Let's move into taking care of the system, because this system is not a part. It's like in medicine, we reduce it down to, okay, the system is not working, so we cut it out or medicate it or what have you. Understanding this is a vital part of your total wholeness in the body itself. So yeah, dive into the stack. I'm excited to learn.
Yeah, well, the foundation of the stack is obviously not eating ultra processed foods and exercising, especially exertion exercises. So, high intensity interval training, bodybuilding, strength and stamina, those are very, very important. Second thing is supplementing. If you're over 40, supplementing your nitric oxide with a nitric oxide booster. As you had talked to me about before we started the show, you were aware of my flow supplement. I created this flow nitric oxide booster because I looked at all of the citrulline based supplements that are out there. You want citrulline, not arginine. If you're over 40, the pathway works better on the citrulline pathway. And I just didn't see enough organic material in these things. And the problem is that if you take a supplement that comes from pesticide laden food, the pesticides stay in there. It doesn't go out just because you made it into a supplement. So this is organic watermelon rind, which is Citrullus vulgaris is the watermelon,
No way.
and spinach powder,
Yeah.
and bitter cherry, which is the vitamin C that helps with the absorption, and pine bark tannin, which is pyrocyanidins, which help with blood flow. And so what this does is this supplements our food supply, which is, even if we eat a ton of leafy green vegetables and beetroot, our food supply has less and less nitrates that turn into nitrites that convert it to nitric oxide in the stomach. And you have to have no antibacterial mouthwash. You've got to get rid of your proton pump inhibitors and your acid blockers and clean up your diet and get rid of the crap that's giving you that. Rebuild your stomach acid so you get all you can from what you're eating, but you can supplement with a nitric oxide. Men and women, all bodies, after 40, it's one of those, it's omegas, it's all your vitamins, all your minerals, and your nitric oxide then go from there above to whatever your body needs as far as nutrients. And then the second piece of it is thinking about regenerative therapy. It's all a blood flow system down there. So you want to get your blood flow going, and there's a couple of different ways to do it. For the penis owner to regain, and guys don't know how much atrophy, because it's so slow.
Yeah.
They don't know they're just pushing a wet noodle till they fix it, and they're like, oh wow, I thought I was okay. I could get pretty erect. I could penetrate. It was okay. But the problem is you want a penis that is like firm, like hard and straining at the skin with lots of veins, good vascularization, nice and thick that can get hard, go soft, get hard, go soft. Lots of nocturnal erections, morning wood, erections all day long. That's health. And you can have that till the day you die if you take care of your function. And the stack that I love, so I am a company spokesperson for a company called Gainswave, who also offers FemiWave for women. Yes. It's a shock wave procedure that is like an acoustic wave that is applied to the penis and the vulva that does tiny little micro damage that then brings your body's own healing factors to regenerate new tissue, increase vascularization, get the plaque off the arteries in there, and stimulate new nerve growth, because now you're getting blood supply back in there that's been retracted as you've atrophied over time. And you get your sensitivity back, everything feels better, your orgasms are better, your penis performs again like you were a kid. And I went to them and I was like, this is just incredible. Can I please just tell everyone about this? So I've had a long and great relationship with them. They're a very good company. The doctors who do the treatments are excellent. And I really love that particular therapy for any man who wants to either reverse erectile dysfunction or make sure he keeps atrophy at bay as he ages. Then, and you use, I'm sure you use shockwave in your clinic for joints and soft tissue damage, scarring from accidents. I mean, it is so good for so many things. I love shockwave. Incredible, and it's fantastic for the vulva. And one of the reasons I like it, so many women think they have to have these lasers inside their vagina to fix the problem, but what about all the erectile tissue? Like you're basically lasering the vaginal mucosal lining, but you're not doing anything for the blood flow, which is, the vagina is a muscle, right? It's a stretchy little muscle. Babies come out of there, 3 in your family. Well,
sorry, Marin.
But the great news is that muscle, it can snap right back when it gets good blood flow, and all that erectile tissue, we have to take care of it just like our guys do. We've got to keep our function. And so many women, as they age, they're like, I'm struggling to achieve orgasm now. Well, that's because the tissue has atrophied. So the FemiWave gets it all young again. Add on, this is like the cherry on top, is either PRP, exosomes, stem cells to turbocharge that healing. And if that's out of your price range, you can do the other thing that always goes with it, which is the gold standard, which is a vacuum erection device, a penis or lady pump, vulva pump. And I work with the Dr. Kaplan company, and they have by far, hands down, the pumps you want for a myriad of reasons, which I've outlined in my book that you can download for free called The Pumping Guide. It's at pumpingguide.com. And I explain the lady pumps, the penis pumps, and you can do it for reversing atrophy, but you can also do it for enlargement. The more tissue you have, the better it feels and the more pleasure and sensation you have. And so I turned out to be the queen of penis pumps because they are like, for $200, you can keep atrophy at bay. If you pump once a week or twice a week, just as you age, you can not only keep atrophy at bay, but you can actually do what's called male or female enhancement, which is you can add more meat to the tissue, enhance the tissue, bring the blood in, keep it all really nice and plump and firm. It accelerates the engorgement and the erectile function so that when you lie down together, you're going to get more blood flow faster and you're going to get better erectile function, which it expands the tissue so that when you stimulate it, you're sending massively more pleasure signals to your brain, your biggest sex organ. Your brain's what tells you what feels good. You have to have the mind-body connection. So that's the stack. It's the nitric oxide supplement. It's the pumping. It's the Gaines wave or Femi wave. And then if you have the money, the stem cells, the exosomes, the PRP.
I love it. I love it. And I'm just thinking, and again, I kind of throw a little twist because I do have a group of doctors that we work with, but I'm thinking a little couple outside the box things like chelation. Chelation is also really good for pulling out plaquing and arteries and things like that. And it goes systemically. If that's not part of your routine, I mean, if we're looking at a gold standard, that is really cool. And here's
what are you doing for chelation right now?
So we do IV chelation. So it's
IV. Okay.
Yeah, it's awesome. EDTA has been known. There was a documentary that got, of course, pulled off, but it was called Unleaded. And there was these cardiovascular surgeons that were like, do not go on statins, do not do anything, do not go under heart surgery, just chelate. And chelation has been known to just pull out all those plaques. It has an affinity for heavy metals and things like that. So it's good neurological health as well. So
good. I'd like to talk to you more about that. And I wanted to tell you another thing that was interesting was that, your oral microbiome is what begins that calcification process in your arteries. The cholesterol lays down patches. And then, as you lose nitric oxide, the cholesterol lays down the patches in the blood vessels. And then the calcium comes and crusts over that. And then that's the hardening of the arteries. I noticed that I was getting more what's it called that you get in your mouth?
Like a film or mucus or
that what they chip off.
Plaquing of the
plaque. Jesus, yes. Yeah. Thank you. I was having a brain fart. I noticed I was getting more plaque in my lower teeth about 6 months ago. And I talked to my dentist, who's a holistic dentist, and I said, what do we do about that? Because that shit's going in my blood system and I got to protect my heart. And he said, I said, do you think it's a microbiome thing? He's like, no, your microbiome is gorgeous. You don't have a microbiome problem. He said, the chances are you've got a calcium phosphorus imbalance.
Wow.
He said, takes a little bit of phosphorus. You don't need much. See if it improves. 10 days after I started taking a phosphorus supplement, the calcium stopped, the plaque stopped going in my teeth.
Wow, that's good data.
And so I've been taking more phosphorus so that it keeps the plaque from forming in my arteries. Isn't that interesting?
That is so cool. That is cool. What a good hack. I'm going to look into that. I'm going to look into that.
I thought you'd dig that. Yeah.
Yeah, always. And, back to the biome is really, really, really important. Again, we do a live blood analysis, and I can't tell you how often I see that microbiome being disrupted, and we'll have high levels of candida in the blood. We can actually see it on microscope, and that becomes a nightmare. And it's not just for women because they know of that impact of that, but men are dealing with it as well. And what that does to brain fog, inflammatory reactions, shifts our blood pH. So it causes a lot of those things as well. But full circle to what you were talking about on, the pumps and things like that. Those are incredible avenues. And you're mentioning that connection.
I'll send you one if you want it. Do you have one?
No, No, I
Oh,
would.
I'll for sure send that to you with
Awesome.
some flow as well. Yeah.
Okay. And you were mentioning it's not only just length, but obviously the girth is more important. Talk to us about that, because that does help improve that, correct?
Oh my God, it's so good for girth. Yeah.
Yes.
So the vagina, that neck of the vagina with that sphincter, it has mechanoreceptors in it that like pressure. They like to be like kind of filled and full. We like to have our vagina full,
Yeah.
and when it's healthy. And the first thing a pump does is it basically, as it's the negative vacuum pressure is drawing blood into the penis and increasing the blood carrying capacity. And as it flows in, the very first area that it starts to affect with the increased capacity is the base of the shaft, because that's where the most blood is going. And as you build that blood carrying capacity, you stretch out the tunica albuginea very slowly over time. If you pump too fast, you hurt yourself. Follow my damn directions, dudes. I don't care if you can take the pain. Don't.
Yeah.
You're actually hurting yourself and going backward. It's like making a stew. The meat is tender when you never bring it to boil. You've got to, you want to keep it low, 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 low. Low gets you. I'm from Pennsylvania originally. We have this funny little saying, this Pennsylvania Dutch saying, the hurrier I go, the behinder I get. That's with pumping. If you rush it, you get less gains. And by the way, this is a question guys always ask me is, if I'm pumping for enlargement, as soon as I stop, does it all go back to where it was? No, but it's just like your bicep where you're doing progressive overload. Look at that meaty bicep there, right there. That looks good, doesn't it?
Blood sugar pump right there.
That's my pump right there. That's like hard as a rock, that thing. And that's what I go for. I'm like all about being a blonde barbarian, as strong as I can get. Like I had a little munge from going to Burning Man, and it was like in my bronchial thing. And as soon as I felt better, the first thing I thought was, damn, I need to go lift some heavy shit.
Yes.
Like
Love
so
it.
funny.
It's so healthy.
But when you're pulling the blood into the penis, it gets girthy at the base and then it works its way up to the top over time. You're literally watching yourself remodel. I call it penis sculpting. You're literally sculpting your penis all the way up. And there's a head enlarger as well. If you've got a little head and you want it bigger, there's a traction device that'll actually help accelerate the length. And using the traction device, if you've got a curve you're trying to correct, will help grow it a little straighter as you pump. I mean, there's just so many things. It's all in the book, pumpingguide.com. But yeah, it's really, it does give you that thick feeling that a lady loves.
Yes, that's what we want. That's what we need. And now you're talking my talk.
Grr, baby.
Oh, so good.
You're so fun, Todd.
No, this has been a blast. I love it. I'm eating this up, and it's funny because as a chiropractor, that's all we do is work on posture, and we found out ways. And I do a rare technique that we restore posture, and it has to do with ligaments, and so we're correcting things from abnormal positions to healthier positions, and ligaments, because there are ligaments that are around that area too that need a sustained load. We know that it's funny. It's called bioreology. Rheology is a flow of tissues. Rheology and how they deform and change, and there's all sorts of studies on this. And ligaments do what we call creep. And so if you have enough pressure over enough time, they will actually creep, where they can shorten, they can lengthen.
Yep.
So yes, this is legit. I mean, that is cool, but it takes reps.
Okay, here's a nerdy thing you're going to love. So the way that the Whopper penis pump, which I'm sending you, I want you to try it. You're going to friggin' love it. It's self-care down there. It's so good. If you want the lady pump for your wife, let me know. Okay. And you guys can pump together. But if you pump once or twice a week, you will be shocked at the change. But one of the interesting things about the Whopper system is that it's a 2-cylinder system. And the first cylinder you use, you actually put your testicles in. They don't get any bigger, but they get blood flow, which is healthy. Yeah. And what it does is it actually pulls on the suspensory ligament, the one that makes your dick go whoop like this. And so you can put a towel on it, like, oh, look, baby, I'm like a towel hanger, yes. Or maybe her lingerie or something. And it's so cute because when you tug that suspensory ligament, it'll drop a little bit and you'll get visual length to your penis.
Okay.
It's just incredible. So the guys that they're like a 5 and they want to be a 6, they're a 6 and they want to be a 7. You can get a 20 to 25% increase in overall penile volume from
Wow.
using a pump for 10 months to a year, fairly religiously. 2 times a week is good. You never do it every day. You got to have your recovery day. So
Yeah.
now there's leg day, there's arm day, and there's penis day.
I love it. I love it. Well, and then since we're on it, talk about the female version of that. So the female
Yeah,
pump.
the vulva pumps.
Yeah.
So I love FemiWave because it stimulates all that tissue in our vulva to regenerate, and it plumps up our labia. It makes our clitoris nice and meaty. It helps us have really great orgasms because it improves our sensitivity, because it improves our vascularization, which improves our nervous system response. It helps with lubrication, with incontinence. We shrink too, just
Yeah.
like you do. And so that voluptuous vulva of mine that I was talking about is directly attributed to pumping the clitoris and the vulva, as well as doing the FemiWave and taking the nitric oxide and getting regular engorgement through my yoni massages. And I wanted to tell you about this too.
Yeah.
I can have some of this sent to you too. This is a company that I found that I absolutely love. They're called Foria, Foria, like euphoria.
Nice.
And I always say that if you wouldn't put it in your mouth, you should never put it in your vulva. And when you buy a sexual lubricant from the drugstore or or the grocery store or wherever, it has to have preservatives in it that are often chemicals. They're often made from chemicals. They're like our foods, where they've replaced all the whole and natural things with shitty chemicals that kind of are like what it was supposed to be. And so what Foria is it's a CBD based, non-psychoactive, no THC oil, hemp based, organically, sustainably grown. It really meets my values. And there's this system that's like this triple system. There are this Awaken oil has essential oils in it that you basically put a little coating on your vulva and your clitoral structures, and you can put it in your vagina, and then you kind of let that do its magic, and it starts to improve the mind body connection. It activates the entire yoni so that all of a sudden everything you do, all the touch, the pleasuring, feels more pleasurable. And then their sex oil, they call it, is what you use on top as the slippy slidey fun. And they have these vaginal melts. They have both ones for pain relief as well as for pleasure. And they also have booty melts. And this is a little suppository that you pop in there. And then instead of trying to get the lube up in there, the oil up in there, you just insert it. It melts. It makes a beautiful coating that makes intercourse feel glidey and slidey. And they work beautifully together. They're like a system. And I'll get you a link for this for Foria. But I absolutely love these products. So if you want me to have these sent to you, let me know, because I haven't found anything better. And boy, I mean, my husband, who I'm an early adopter, he's like the last person to do anything. He's like, I'll just wait and see if anybody dies for the next couple decades, And so it was funny because he's like Mr. Skeptic, and Sir Tim, we call him, a prince among men. And he was like, wow, this Awaken oil really has an effect on you. And I was like, it does. I love it. I always want it when we start our yoni massages. So I just love it. And I love the ethos of the brand, and they're really good. So I wanted to mention that too, because you like to know about these, clean formulas.
Absolutely. I mean, and full disclosure, what we've always done, because I haven't seen anything like that, and but it's like an organic coconut oil or something like that. But that's a great, that's a great avenue. So I'm excited about that.
I used organic avocado for a long time because coconut oil is naturally antibacterial, and it can disrupt the vaginal microbiome.
Yes. Okay.
Especially for women who have candida overrun issues.
All right. Good data.
And there's one more thing. Do I have it here? Can I grab it?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
We're chill.
I
We're
got one
chill.
more thing to tell you.
You brought a lot
I know,
already.
yeah, I hope I did. Where did I put it? Oh, wait. Is it here? Oh, here it is. No. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Hang on. I got to plug back in for you. She'll be
Yeah.
right back. This is a vagina device. And this is kind of like, okay, I can't afford to go out and get treatments right now, but I want to make my vagina feel better. And this uses red light therapy. It's at vaginadevice.com, and it uses photobiomodulation,
Huge.
which regenerates the glycogen in the vaginal mucosal lining. Your good bacteria need and eat the glycogen. As your estrogen drops, you stop having enough glycogen. That's why vaginal estrogen replacement is so important as you age.
Yeah.
And the red light stimulates the glycogen. For women who've been like, there's no yeast infection, there's no bacterial infection, but I don't like my odor, they try this. And women have told me, my God, that was the trick, was just some red light therapy in my vagina. It also has warmth, which recollagenates that vaginal mucosal lining. And it has vibration that's not meant for pleasure, but it feels good.
Sure.
It's meant for Kegel toning.
Yes.
So this device is an at-home DIY fabulous product that goes in that lady's stack.
Love it. And my wife jumped all over that. When I sent her that podcast, she was like, that was part of the order that she had made.
Oh,
and
you guys got it.
Yeah, and she had no issues. There was nothing, wrong. But she just she's a biohacker like you and like me. It was just like, hey, this is good because we use photobiomodulation all over our office. We have lasers and all sorts of stuff. So, I mean, it's healthy. And if you can get it in there, we're actually looking at photobiomodulation in a catheter, like when we can actually inject in joints and set IVs. And so there's all sorts of research.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if so we can attest to that making some awesome changes as well. This is so cool. I got so many different avenues that we're going on, and coming back to a little bit of the sex span. We're talking about pumps. We're talking about male and female pumps. We're talking about health and all these types of things. I do have to mention that that stimulus and doing the pumps makes a huge difference. And correct me if I'm wrong, but my early trainings, I just remember keying up on a sexual experience. Intimacy is predominantly a parasympathetic activity. It's the ejaculation or the coming, if you will, that is the sympathetic. So if nothing else in a stressed world, this does make a huge neurological change, similar to what we try to do with chiropractic and, stimulating the parasympathetics, which is rest and digest, versus the sympathetics, which is our fight and flight. And so seeing what you're doing in this arena is helping on so many different avenues. Do you mind just going into, you mentioned it as, and I have you for about an hour right now, but you mentioned orgasmic cross training. I mean, let's, that would be a phenomenal thing kind of just to end on, wrap up, and then we're going to get everybody some links and avenues to get a hold of everything they want. So, but yeah, tell me about orgasmic cross training. Cause that's intriguing.
I love talking to you so much. Listen, invite me back. I got so much more to say, Todd.
I bet you do. And I want to,
we should do a show in person together sometime. It would be so much fun.
I would love it.
So orgasmic cross training is this notion. So I've been lucky to have a lot of good mentors. And one of my mentors was Sherry Winston. She wrote a seminal book called The Female Anatomy of Arousal. I learned so much from her. And one of the things she explains is this notion of orgasmic cross training, this idea that people tend to learn one pathway to orgasm when there's an infinite quantum amount of them. And the more of them that you learn, the more easily accessible your pleasure is, the more confident you are, the more relaxed you are, the better the orgasms can become. And one day I was sitting around and I thought, how many kinds of orgasms are there? And what I did was I just researched for like 6 months all the different types of orgasms that I hadn't even known much about. And there are approximately 20 kinds of orgasms that the human body can have, both male and female,
Wow.
penis and vulva owners. And the 20th one is wild card because there's always more. That's sex. There's always more. And it's a lifelong process. You'll never run out of fun things to do, I promise you. And then I started thinking, and then I learned about Dr. Nan Wise and putting people in the fMRI and how different parts of the vulva and the penis and prostate that you touch activate different areas of the brain, including the breasts, the nipples, the
Wow.
lips, the
Yeah.
tongue, the mouth, the throat. There's all these different areas, these erogenous zones, as we've heard them called. And the more of them you get going, the more you can come from different types of stimulation and the more pleasure you can have. And I kind of brought the concept into the 21st century because I said, okay, if I'm going to activate all this tissue through stimulation, if I'm going to get my interlabial lips to be as orgasmic as the tip of my clitoris, if I'm going to get my vagina to be as orgasmic as the tip of my clitoris, if I'm going to make all of these things just turned on, what can I do to make it even easier on myself to do it? What tools are there available? And it turns out that sex toys activate these pleasure signals to your brain. So why would you use a toothbrush when you can use an oral irrigator and an electric toothbrush, right? I mean, we have tools for everything. So then I looked at all of the different types of tools that are out there. And I talked to another mentor of mine, and her name is Kristen, and she's the VP of marketing at one of my favorite brands of toys, super premium quality, really nice technology, German engineered. And she told me that there are these different types of toys. And so I sent to her and I said, it seems like there's 8 types of toys that could activate different areas of the vulva. And she said, yeah, that looks accurate. And so I said, okay, there's 8 for women, for vulva owners. There's 8 for penis owners. I put it at orgasmiccrosstraining.com, and I vet toys constantly. Companies send me toys. I have boxes of sex toys. And I know what the good brands are that have the really good quality products that really work. And I know what the Chinese junk is that's made with plasticizers and phthalates that are toxic.
Yeah.
And you don't want to buy stuff off Amazon. You want to buy it direct from the brands. And so I put together the 8 different toys and the 4 different toys that I feel should over time be added to every person's pleasure chest who wants to activate their entire urogenital pleasure system. And you essentially cross-train. You start with one and use it. Some of them are clitoral, some of them are all the way on the outside. Like, I wanted to show you this one. This is called the Vim. It's on there. And this is the new wand. This is like your mom's old massager, but it's generated by the German engineers. And it is incredible at penetrating. It doesn't vibrate the skin. It goes into your body and it gets that tissue, that erectile tissue, really engorged and full of blood flow. This is, to me, the number one thing you should start with, because you can do the whole labia. You can do the mons, which, if you want to explore G-spot activation and female ejaculation, the mons is key. The mons venus or mons pubis, the top, the bridge over there across the pubic bone, because the blood plasma, when you talked about your hourglass, the hourglass has to flow through the mons and down into the vulval structures. So it comes into the inside, but it also comes right down there. There's these little channels that go right into the Skene's glands so that you can have the experience of your divine nectar, your amrita, your feminine release of your feminine waters, which aren't urine. It's just like a man. He urinates and ejaculates. So do women. We're built the same.
That's awesome.
So this is, if you don't have this, would you have this one yet?
Nope.
All right, this is what you're getting this week. This
Okay.
is the one, orgasmic cross training. This is the Vim.
I wrote
and
it down.
This one is super good, but there's internal, external, the lady bi, miss bi. So you can trigger the clitoral pleasure while you're activating the vaginal pleasure, and do that cross training. When you're trying to learn how to orgasm from intercourse, you want to do that. So it's like, oh, that feels good. Oh, well, that feels good too. Oh, now they're both feeling good. So there's G-spot, there's all kinds. There's 8 kinds for her and 4 kinds for him that help you really start to achieve that upward pleasure spiral of orgasmic bliss the entire time you're making love.
Love it. Such good
Should I do a mic
data.
drop now?
Yeah.
Oh.
The original
Brought
mic
to
drop
you
right
from
there.
Orgasmic Outer Space.
Oh, that is so awesome. I love it. I love it. Just kicking the teeth in of this stigma. I love it. It's been
good.
such a pleasure. And I
Oh my God, so fun.
one last thing, and this is selfish because I'm constantly talking with women. My wife is the leader of this area as far as women's health and things like that.
Yay.
You mentioned you still cycle, and
I do.
Yes. And talk a little bit about that, and then we'll close this up. But one of the things I try to teach women is that they've got a stigma on hormone replacement. I love Wiley. T.S. Wiley kind of changed my world on understanding the viability of a woman is her cycle. And the more she cycles, the longer it's a cycle. T.S. Wiley, I talked to her over the phone. She goes, "Sweetheart, I am 74 years old and I still have a cycle and I am beautiful." And I know that's your pattern where you're at, and we're trying to teach women because they just like they want menopause, get rid of that thing that's just been so traumatic all of their lives, and versus this idea of just men, we give a testosterone, they stay viable, but women need to be in that arena too, and balancing. That's where I love Wiley and her protocols, and we're making some gains on that. But talk to me about that still cycling and viability, and then we'll wrap this up.
Todd, you are one of the best interviewers I've ever had a podcast with. You know so much incredible stuff. I mean, just the fact that you're spouting off your conversations with T.S. Wiley is really impressive to me. Thank you so much. You're really well informed.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love chiropractors. I do. I mean, you're so innovative in your craft. I didn't take my daughter to a medical doctor for the first, I'm thinking like 12 or 13 years of her life. We had a chiropractor and she solved all our problems. And I took her to the doctor to get the HPV shots because I wanted her to have those, because there's 49 kinds of human papilloma virus and they give you throat cancer and all kinds of problems. And I thought, well, I'll do that one to see if I can stave off something for her. And the doctor yelled at me for not ever having brought her there. And I was like, sorry, like I go to a chiropractor for our family's health. Yeah. So, I have this silly little phrase, and honestly, you're so creative. Maybe you could improve this for me, but here's what I've come up with. I say, if she ain't bleeding, she's receding. We are built for planned obsolescence that begins at menopause. This is my personal opinion. Yeah. And I have been doing bioidentical hormone replacement since my early 40s. Good. And I'm 62 and I have a fairly regular menstrual, situation. And I like having my period. I don't mind it at all. And I love what it does for me. And I currently take Biest, a dual estrogen, estriol, and estradiol. I take testosterone, and I put the estrogen inside my vagina in a shea butter formulation, because most of the carrier creams, frankly, are full of petroleum and crap I wouldn't stick in my yoni. Yeah. And I also take testosterone, and I rub that on my clitoral structure, and that keeps it nice and meaty and responsive, and it gives me balls, so I can be a badass barbarian, and I bodybuild. So I've got a lot of testosterone from that. I love testosterone. Yes. I mean, you can see people who lose their testosterone and they turn into little old grannies. Yeah. And men and women, that's what they turn into, like little scaredy old ladies. And I don't want to do that. I'm vital. And then I take progesterone as well to balance it all out. And
So beautiful.
so I don't know if you have a better rhyme for me than if she ain't bleeding, she's receding, but that's what I do.
That's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good. Well, you are a beautiful soul, beautiful person, and I just want to thank you so much for what you bring to this space and all the stigmas and all that you've been through to be in this space and be a leader in this space. So I look forward to meeting again, and in person would be incredible.
So
maybe
fun.
maybe we can bring my wife's a chiropractor too, so she would
Oh my
love
God.
to so she would love to be involved, and we can just have a good old time on that. So
Let's set the intention.
okay. It's out there. It is out there. Susan, again, thank you so much. Let me go back through. So your new book, orgasmicintercourse.com.
You can go to orgasmicintercourse.com and get the techniques in advance of the book. Yep.
Okay. And wonderful. And you mentioned pumpingguide.com, organiccrosstraining.com.
Yep.
And if you guys don't follow her on Instagram, you need to. I love your Instagram. It is just full of joy and fun and laughs and all that good stuff, which helps with longevity as well.
It does. Actually, Dave Asprey says that acting like a seventh grader is one of his biohacks, because he says if you don't have that kind of youthful mentality and you're not laughing and you don't have a ridiculous sense of humor and you're not acting like a goof, you're acting like an old fart. Yeah. And I thought, that's actually a really good strategy.
Buttoned up too tight is not good for biohacking.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. And your website is?
betterlover.com. If you want to get on my newsletter and learn about all these things I'm talking about all the time, I give out so much free stuff. That's where you'll really, that's kind of the Rosetta Stone, and that's at betterlover.com. You can sign up for my newsletter. And then if you get my newsletter and you have any questions for me, you're just welcome to email me. They come right to my inbox and I will reply to you personally.
Wonderful. And you have been that way. And that's, again, I appreciate you doing a podcast on this little guy over here, but it's been fun. This is one of my favorites. So thanks, Susan.
Mine too.
Okay, we'll be in touch. Bye.